This is the Ponderous Brick Thinker with a castle update. And the update is, we need to sit down and talk. As I was completing the entry area, it became quite evident that I was not going to have enough brown bricks for the remaining foundation of the castle. So design changes need to happen. While I can order online the brown bricks, I don't think I'll be able to find sufficient quantity in all the colors at a good price. I'm still very mindful of the budget, even though I'm in the middle of a project. I would like to keep that under control. So the first area to change will be right here. This corner was designed so that it can break away from the squareness of the base and be more naturalistic looking. The end result would have been brown bricks coming up here and create a not square public space for the Lego people. But now, instead of brown bricks, green bricks. It will be a hill coming down and vegetation overflowing. When I was doing the entry area, I was wondering where else might I be able to do this kind of feature. And while I think there could be something here, I think the more likely space will be here, since it's just a series of platforms. I was wondering if I can disguise that a little bit. So now it can be a hill coming down this way and then down this way. And it can be a prominent feature of the castle. And since the castle main theme is nature, I think it will fit rather well. As a reminder, there's going to be a tower here, and a tower right here. I think I have all the rock sketches where they belong. Not that it matters, because it's all going to change. As is, there's a lot of gaps for the brown bricks to fill in and support the green bases, especially over here. Big gap, a lot of brown bricks. So I need to get some panels, and that means I'm going to take this out, because this tower is going to get a basement. A basement for underwater nature. With these panels, I'll be able to fill up this area and be able to work on this a little bit cleaner and create some depth. The actual basement construction will be another episode, but for right now, I want to finalize the rocks because I wanted to be sure that I have enough white, blacks, and grays to finish this. And once it's finished, or I'm at a good point to leave it behind, I can worry about something else. But as it is with all these, build this high, because on the front side, it's about here. Come up, drop dramatically down, and keep a low rock profile. Maybe some browns here. And then the final castle wall color to support other pieces I get at a good price. Usually when I go online and get pieces, I do find the ones I want at a low price, but I also see what else is available. So I get these without a clear purpose, but now they do have a purpose, and that is to provide some light in there. And hopefully that'll be enough to fill out the gaps, and I don't have to rely on the brown bricks to fill up everything. So with this area, it does not have to be square. That means I can move into this area where in a previous episode I was thinking of doing some rock formations here, but maybe I don't have to. Maybe this is part of the basement and I avoid the squareness of the area. And that means I can do a lot more with that, but I think I'm going to still kind of give it some boundary, which will be square, with the plates and the brown bricks so that if I absolutely run out after doing everything else, at least I have that. If I have some extra, then I have some leeway to create a special shape. But as is, I think this level will be the entryway for the tower. That way, I can have some transparencies, at least on this side, maybe even up here, so that it can be fully lit. Then that'll be a design challenge for the tower. But that will be another episode, as well as the actual basement construction. As I said, rocks first, and hopefully have enough. With all of these ideas as to what this area could be, it is very tempting to start with the basement, to actually start building it. But if I do so, I would limit my options without considering what all the elements are going to be doing interacting with the basement. For example, there are the rocks, the brown bricks, and then the castle walls, which I have yet to place a single brick of. But the castle is following a order of things. I'm not even sure what episode of Castle Updates, but I did mention that there might be some older construction, and then the team comes and they build on top of that with a newer construction. And then you can imagine that, okay, logically, I would first do the older construction, and then I would have the newer buildings or the newer construction either accommodate that or demolish a little bit and then build on top of it. And there you can see a order of how things are interacting, because it's imaginary timeline, they're on different eras. Here, the rocks were here first, and so they should have a say first as to what their form is. And yes, some of these are, let me see how they look, and then that will be it. But I still am fuzzy as to what this area is going to be. And to help narrow that down, I'm going to start with the rocks, and that will help me kind of finalize what this area is going to be. But I'm going to do so that how the rest of the rocks are used in the castle for dramatic effect, I'm going to still and try to make the rocks dramatic here so that it fits with the overall castle theme and look. And now I have this area to consider as having rocks, but I don't want to put rocks here in the corner because that would limit how I see in here. So like the other areas, I'm going to start moving the base plates around, this for sure, and this one here, and that will help me, with the other steps, because the rocks respond to this idea. This is the overall sketch, the very rough idea of what this castle is going to be. And you can say it was there first before the rocks. And then I'm going to go back and say, no, the rocks were here first and the castle just built around it. And it's an illusion, but that's the order of this castle theme. And yes, it's very ordered, 1, 2, 3. But having known that, you can always rearrange it if your theme allows it or demands it. If you have a fantasy setting where this area is very powerful with magic or science or interdimensional powers, the landscape can warp around it. So it makes sense to build this first, and then everything else kind of accommodates and fits into that what you built first. But here, I'm going more traditional, something more logical. And so now, in order for it to all fit together, I have to kind of follow that along. And what I'm doing right now is just kind of marking where this is, because I still don't know if in the upper levels of the tower, if it's going to be square, and how are the rocks are going to kind of either support it or just ignore it. I'm not yet sure, but this will help me determine, once upon a time, the corner of the green plate was here, not that it is absolutely important, but for future reference, maybe. Just so that I can not fret and say, ooh, I wish I had marked it because it's going to be important, or it'll be nice to, just remember where this was. But somewhere up here, it can come back as the level above the basement. But we'll see. But having done that, I can remove this and this support. And then I'm going to have to consider the core. So what to do with that? I can always move it inward and have it support more of this one here. And that also raises the question is, how is the tower going to be supported up here without this support? It is probably going to be resting on the transparent blue pieces, but that's also a question if that's also part of the castle wall structure. But I can always, bring in the rocks here. I'm thinking of diagonals, just so that it's less obvious as to where the base plates are, and help it make it look more natural. This one, I'm just going to bring it towards the camera. I do have 3 studs here and then 1 stud, and I'm fine with that because it's less predictable that you have 2 studs and 2 studs if I move it this way. And let's see, take out the stairs first, and then let's see, how much do I have? That one is, oh, it's 4. Wolverine's pushing the bricks. Okay, so it's 4 studs here. So it's 3. And 4. So if I move it this much, what do I have? It's the same as that, and 1 less than that. Maybe not. Maybe just... So it's 1 stud there, and 2 studs there. Just a little off-centered. Oh, it's 2. Okay, so then I need to move it. Oops. Okay, keep that one there. And they're just going along for the right, so it's 2 and 1. Okay. Then let's rotate this to give it a look. That's about right. I do have now room for the wall. So maybe, or it could be green bricks. Some places for transitioning. And then I just need to put the stairs back. Then I think I'm going to be okay with that. The bases are now set. Now I can move on to the rocks. Without that square base right here, it's very empty. And now it becomes more intimidating that there's nothing there. So I'm glad I put these markers down. But now I can kind of move this old sketch into place. And since I was thinking of a diagonal, let's see, then something smaller here. I'll have to find a smaller piece than that, which I think I do. We'll see. And kind of rearrange this a bit. And see how that looks. Just have a little bit higher. Now my concern is having too much of a wall hiding, well, it can also be a feature. Because then I'm not sure how to put plants. I can just hide how the plants are coming up behind the wall, right there. Or, sorry, behind the rock. And just go with that. And by diagonal, I don't mean to actually have the plates at this diagonal, but to have it somewhat, break it apart and then move it this way. So it will probably not be this bigger piece, but the smaller dark gray or the other smaller plates and the bricks, trying to make that diagonal work over here. But right now I'm just visualizing what are the possibilities. What would be too much rock when I want to emphasize a underwater nature basement. So if I push them aside, then I kind of like that. Then it becomes really empty, and it makes sense to fill it in with something there in a future build. But yeah, I'm gonna need something smaller. So that I can not hide too much. Maybe a little bit more than that. There. All right. And by having the rocks that far apart, I think it does help with the placement of something important there. And then, okay, the walls don't have to be right here, but they can be extended outward. And I still need to think about what to do with the brown bricks. Because I can try and just extend some rock work just along here. And that way it can support the brown bricks and still emphasize that there's more mountain below. But for sure, this much rock coming in. Kind of stopping there. And then it'll be partly finished wall effect here. Whether it be the final castle wall color or a special blue color so that it emphasizes the underwater nature of the basement. Here we can see, but now it looks squarish. But that means I need to work on these so that I can visualize a bit more clearly if it's going to work in terms of how many plates it's going to take to make this diagonal, how many bricks to help with that is also going to be needed. Then that means I can alter these a bit more so they can play a part with the diagonal, so it's not as right angle squareness here. So that'll be the next step. I have the corner here. I'm almost completely satisfied with it. There's just one aspect that I should have seen from the beginning when I made this extended corner, and it's on this side. Now I have to move this whole thing there. This here, the bottom part of the brick and plates, they are showing, and that's what is kind of distracting me. It is the only place I have this kind of texture showing in the entire build so far. So this is a unique occurrence, particularly to this corner. I'm going to think about it, see if I'm going to keep it. If not, I can always remove it and reduce the corner or lower these bricks so that it's below, and go from there. But just kind of looking at it, the shape is great. It's just that it's a different texture. Everything else has been stud out. Now I see like the back of the brick, and it's kind of distracting, but I'm gonna wait till either I finish with all the rocks and then make a decision, or if it goes into the castle, maybe I can hide it with some vegetation, but we'll see. Oh, so now here's the corner, and just rotating back this way. Here it is. I did extend the distance between the plate and the rock face. It is going to be, yes, brown bricks, but I have a chance to use the green bricks on top. This is the start of the grand hill that's going downward, and that'll be raising it up a little bit more and make it maybe a little bit more dramatic. The other thing I want to show is I created this. It's a temporary placeholder of what I was kind of thinking of what the diagonal was going to be. I was kind of going like that, and it's more or less there. And then I made this to kind of guesstimate how many layers of bricks I'm going to need to do to have this connect to this area over here. And that comes out to 13 layers of brick. Of course, there's going to be plates in here to kind of make it jaggy, but that is still a lot of bricks and a lot of layers to do. So I'm going to go to the original mode and rotate the studs so that they face this way, and not use so many layers of bricks. Come up this way. I have a choice to have it at the corner here, or have it here and then build out so that it wraps around the green base. All the other bases, they more or less follow the green base, and it will be traditionally here, continue this way. You see if I can balance it. Continue this way and then rotate this way. I am inclined to have it here to break the pattern and build out this way and wrap around here. And then once it's here, build out so that it kind of captures this here. One way, by keeping it here, it does narrow this part of the build, make it more narrow this way, and it breaks the grid, which is what I've been kind of unconsciously and consciously doing. And that way, it's hard to tell where these plates are, which is kind of the goal when you do terrain. If you want to make it look natural, more organic to the original situation before the Lego people came, it is, kind of a goal to hide that and then just build around it so that you lose track of where these are and you just see the landscape. So for my next move will be probably to start building. Actually, before that, I should support this. I need to figure out how I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to need all my long bricks to reach out and connect to this here. And I just need to figure out how to do that. I still have that Duplo block and these two to work with. They were part of here, but now they're free to use. And kind of figure out how to support this. So support and then work on this side of the face. Here's an in-between step. I created this to kind of give me an idea of what the final rock wall is going to look like. And I also extended this part because I made let me see how it goes like this. It's going to go between that plate and what the browns are going to be. And this will help cover the seam. But if I do that, I would need to have something like this to kind of be in there. I like that it meets this part here, but it is going to require about 5 bricks this way to meet that part. And while that's not impossible, I think I might have enough, especially if I mix in plates. it's going to be rather smooth. I'm going to have to do it mostly plate, so that way it's more really jaggy. But I might have to rethink this. I might have to add more to here, to this face, so that plates can be used to come in this direction and keep it consistent, that I have the rough studs out way up to here. It will be, I'll try to diagonal it, but we'll see. It will have to be more or less meet this area right here. The other thought I had is what's going to be permanent, or what's going to stay with the base, and what's going to be detachable. I'm thinking this is going to stay with the base, and everything else is going to be removable. And that will be determined by how easy it is to get this piece out, or if I create this one, because that's the other thought I had with having it this way. I could have this as an independent support so that this can be placed and then this can be placed, and it can't just rely on that single one that I already made. And now it's time to kind of change that up. I still think this is enough for this area right here. It will be just a matter of maybe not so much flat here, but be able to go back a bit, step it back, so that it can kind of meet this diagonal and avoid that corner. Try to keep that corner there and kind of just come in this way. I can always pull it this way, but that just reduces space for the basement. So I'm imagining this much, and that way I can have more freedom over here. And I'll just have to figure out the right mix of plates and bricks to kind of meet up with this area here. Here is the corner more or less finished. There are a few issues. If you look here, there's gaps going on, and that results from this base being on top of this plate and the rest is flush on the desk. And this led me to this solution where this is flush with the edge right here, and this kind of comes around and takes care of the corner right there. I could have continued this face coming this way, but I wanted to try an experiment, see how it looks, to kind of have this not a perfectly vertical line separating both sides, but kind of overlap a little bit. Just as a experiment to see how other ways of using this kind of technique can work. But I think that is pretty good for now. I can always come back and change it. I am okay with this situation where it's actually just resting on top of that side of the brick, but I think it can work. And I think I'm going to call it here. I know for this episode it has been more talk than build compared to recent episodes, but there's only so much I can do in a week. And there we have it. So this has been the Ponderous Brick Thinker. Thank you for stopping by. Hopefully you learned something, maybe even enjoyed it. And if there was something I said that might have sparked some ideas in your own builds, that's great. Well, see you next time.